So, welcome to the latest edition of the Theatres of Dreams Extra Time, the podcast that looks at football from the widest angle. I'm Rod Maxwell from Radio Ulti, a Manchester United fan, and as usual on Extra Time, I'm joined coming from the city of Manchester, Manchester City fan, Don Bowers. How are you, Don?
I'm very well, thank you.
And coming from a place outside of Stoke, I always get it wrong, but a Liverpool fan, Richard Irvine, who also podcasts with me on the Vinyl Vaults. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We're doing this on the Friday morning, and we're getting into a routine. So let's start with last week's results, because I know from my point of view, and I think Dom, for once we share a similar bad weekend. United had a terrible weekend, but your weekend, City, Arsenal, my God, what went wrong there, Dom?
Yeah. I mean, you could argue it epitomised the City season again. You know, same old problems. I think it was a bit of a strange game. I think, to be honest with you, I was there, so I was another one of my away day trips.
Got fantastic!
Yeah, nice. Got Lake Norient tomorrow. I feel like I'm going full time, but it was a strange game. It wasn't a 5-1. I'm not deflecting about the fact that Arsenal deserved to win. It wasn't a 5-1. So obviously, it was split into three sections. It was initially the first 10 minutes where we decided to just do our usual and overplay, bad game management, give a crazy goal away in the first minute thanks to John Stones putting a kanji in all sorts of problem, and they just tap it in. Gets their crowd up. Could have gone 2 down. And then really weirdly, Arsenal, and this is why Liverpool for me are hot favourites. Arsenal then decided for some random reason to not smell blood and go back into 2 banks of 5 and go back to their usual pragmatic, boring style and let us have the ball and just let us play. And it wasn't that we were absolutely outstanding, but Arsenal just decided to sit deep, and I think they have a fear of us. I think it's a little bit of PTSD that Liverpool have had, and Arsenal definitely have, about being done over by us and being nicked to titles and stuff, and they just backed off.
So
then, it was a strange game, and then
which led to the Haaland goal, you mean?
Yeah, which was deserved. We didn't have loads of chances. We don't find Haaland quick enough. He's got, we need to be closer to him. Mamouche as well. The two of them look like a great foil, but if you're not going to find them and get the ball to them quick enough in transition, then what is that about? But that's a Pep issue. And then we get 1-1. Immediately, Phil Foden decides to pass it to them. Gets robbed in the middle of the park. They score again off a deflected goal, but it's all because of Phil. To be honest, sorry, Phil. Just put your hands up and take your medicine. So we've gifted 2, and then the momentum shifted in the crowd. They stopped being as nervous, and then they came and had a go at us, and then we fell apart.
Is that your first time at the Emirates, by the way?
Yes.
And what did you think, just as a side note?
Yeah, beautiful. I've always wanted to go there, managed to get the opportunity this time. So it was, magnificent place. But
atmosphere, how would you rate?
Yeah, yes. When you're on the end of that, it's not great, is it? But they're a funny lot. So, and this is why there's a bit of an anti-United. There's an anti-Arsenal thing going on because they are so unbearable. The humility of United fans these days it makes it actually easier to. No, it does. It makes it easier to because there's a self-deprecating humour in the north. When it's not going right, actually, you just get on with it and have a nice time. And at the moment, City fans are desperate for Liverpool to win the league because I would never say that 2 years ago, but this Arsenal lot are unbearable.
Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? I mean, I listened to some of these Jeff's, talk sport things, and this Arsenal fan who was on his way down from Newcastle after being beaten 2-0, so 4-0 on aggregate, was trying to convince them that really they weren't really that bothered about not getting to the final, and of course they took great pleasure in reminding him. Of course, that's what every team says when they don't either win or get to the Carabao Cup final. But it is a bit of silverware at the end of the day, and of course they would have liked to have got to the final, especially with it being at Wembley.
Let's Arsenal fans, you have a right to reply. Get in contact with us, reallyawesome@gmail.com. Dom Bars made that comment, by the way, so direct any emails to him.
But I have to say, Rodney, and we talk about why the Premier League is so popular, and or English football, the kind of comedic, stay humble that has come back to haunt Haaland, and the Arsenal players reminding him of that. And then I think one of the scorers sat down and did the Haaland kind of yoga celebration to really rub it in. But of course, then the Newcastle fans would then be ribbing it out of them as well after the game. But what I've now heard, Rodney and Dom, I'm sure you've heard this now, is now the Premier League are then thinking now, has this gone too far with people mocking other people's celebrations? And they're talking about even curbing it, or curbing celebrations, telling them to, cut it out or rein it in and all this business.
Rubbish. I mean, it's all part of the game. It's part of the fun.
Yeah.
It's entertainment business at the end of the day, really. And I mean, I actually thought Haaland did ever so well in terms of he's happy to dish it out, but he takes it really well, because any other young centre-forward like that who's won everything could have got quite petulant, could have kicked out. We've seen that in the past with other players who get themselves sent off or booked. Gabriel was in his face when they scored the first goal, and it's a wry smile, and then he starts pointing at the gold badges, and a reminder that basically, Haaland's living rent-free in Arsenal's heads, and it's great. And actually, but what he forgets is, as a City club and City fans, even though we win stuff, we are used to abusing ourselves, so we don't have any problem in taking some medicine. We really don't. Maybe some of the new, more precious ones who are 20 years of age who know no different, but it's part of the fun. I think the banter's important.
You talk about Haaland living rent-free in your head. I mean, if I look at the match stats on that week, that match, I mean, you were actually quite dominant in terms of possession. You were almost living rent-free in their half at times. I mean, 55% of the game was City's. Even shots, your XG wasn't that badly off them. But I think you hit I mean, the stats would suggest a totally different type of game and wouldn't suggest a 5-1 defeat, really.
No, we just capitulated. We didn't really touch the ball from 70 minutes, to be truthful. And that's where, again, the age of the squad, the legs come off. And then don't be, no surprise, that happens on a Sunday. And by Tuesday night, we've bought Gonzalez. Right. And
that's right.
Because we've got nothing in the middle of the park. So the back four look terrible. No Diaz. Obviously we all know about the Rodri bit, but it's the spine's not there and the legs aren't there. And
is it 160 million you've spent in the January window?
Yeah, but it's not far off. Mamouche was 75, I think, ish. He looks good, but 75 is still a lot of money. 60 for the 60 euros, 50 million for Gonzalez. That was his buyout clause. Only time will tell whether he's worth that. All I know about him is he was part of that Barcelona academy and was seen as the new Busquets. Didn't quite make the grade, got moved on. He's had a half decent season at Porto, and obviously to get a buyout in January, you got to pay top bucks. And we just needed, even if I don't see him being another Rodri, there isn't another one, but somebody youthful at 23 years of age to put some legs alongside Kovacic is desperately needed. I'm just surprised they've left it till the 11th hour.
I saw a stat actually about the average age of players in this particular window, and it was very, very young. Yeah, of the 21 Premier League signings in January this year involving a fee, the average age of the signed players is just 20. So Bournemouth have signed a 19 and 18-year-old, Brighton a 19, 21, 23-year-old, United a 20 and 18-year-old. City's 4 arrivals have an average age of 20.5 years. So there's definitely a trend there. And whether it's about value for money, whether it's about dropping the average age or whatever, that was definitely a trend in the January window. And, you were the big spenders. There weren't that many other big spenders in January in this window. And that's obviously financial fair play or PSR or whatever. So it's taking effect. This also turned to, I mean, I was on Sunday, I was at Old Trafford, and it was a diabolical game for us. Crystal Palace beating us at home 2-0. Mateta getting 2 goals. I mean, I've sort of somewhat wiped this game off my head, but the lineup was interesting because he dropped both our notable forwards for this game, and he put he put who was he?
Kobbie Mainoo was a false 9.
Put Kobbie as a false 9, and Diallo, Garnacho either side, and you sort of think. I said this in the other podcast we do Theatre of Dreams this week. I wonder whether he was sending a message basically, which is I'm lacking in resources here, and I don't have these 2 strikers that he's got. I mean, he's not made any signings himself yet. And I wonder whether that, or whether he thought they're going to play deep, so therefore I need people who can retain the ball, can hold the ball up, can play with their backs to goal, bring players around them. And I don't think I don't think that is Hoyland's game. I'm not sure what Xerxes' game is yet, but it was a shockingly bad game. And I read, I mentioned to you just before we came on air that somebody's just shared with me today a Guardian article where apparently Amrin had told the board when he came in, coming in at this stage of the season with his lack of opportunity of doing anything yet, it'll be a tough season. And I think they are resigned to actually seeing it out, So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even want Europa football at the end of the season. If we can't get Champions League, we'll try to win Europa Cup because that might be our best opportunity. But after that, it's about actually consolidating. And the season really starts once we get into the end of this season.
You've just reminded me, if you win the UEFA Cup, is it still called that, or is it called the Europa League?
Europa League, sorry.
Yes, if you win that, you get into the Champions League, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Let's face that. That's their only chance.
Probably is our best chance, even though.
Well, it's your only chance. It's your only chance.
Well, at the moment it is because we're so far off top 4.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to get top 4. We know that.
No. So I just wonder whether actually, I wouldn't say this, but if this season is a bit of a free hit for him, that he's basically, he doesn't have enough time window opportunity to do anything, and it's about getting some basics established and then moving on from there. We'll see. But
which brings us on to Rashford's move then. Well, loan move. Let's not forget. It's not, they haven't bought him. They've loaned him, but he didn't look that. It was an awkward photograph, wasn't it? Didn't he look? He looked like he'd just come in from a night out with Dom. To be honest with you,
thanks.
Dom looks fresher. Dom looks fresher, even on a night out, a 24-hour bender. He would look fresher.
Mike, it's not that it wasn't a great photo. He looked a bit,
bloated.
Yeah, tired, bloated.
He has clearly a lifestyle issue, which we should probably just park that because it would all be hearsay. But he has a lifestyle issue, and you cannot get away from that. You physically just look at him. So the lad's not in a good place, is he? So all he can do is look at the football side, and Villa's a good move for him. I think he's with a very good manager in a team that's productive. Let's see how he does. He might resurrect his career. He's done it ever so well to get Villa. I mean, honestly, I know he's a good player, but because of his value and his current reputation, bordering on being a Dele Alli, bordering on it, and
yes,
he really is. He could just disappear to Galatasaray or somewhere and never be seen again.
I actually think not going to Europe was right. I think staying in the UK, and I think Unai Emery is a manager that might be able to help him. And Villa's a club will be. I think it's a good move for him, the player, actually, because there is still a good footballer in that body. It's just that his head isn't in the right place at all. And I think I haven't heard any Manchester United fan annoyed that he's going, and I don't know whether that's because his contribution has been great, but actually his head's not in the right place, and he's only 27, so he's got to get himself sorted. So I really hope for his sake he does. I think Villa is a good place for him to be at the moment.
Yeah, I do.
And they need some reinforcements as well, as but they lost at the weekend, Derby at Wolves. That
they did, yeah.
They're rocking.
And of course, they lost that striker to the Saudi league.
Duran,
the super sub. Ollie Watkins looks like he's staying. Well, he is staying. So you've got Ollie Watkins and Rashford. You got a little bit more. Duran was a good striker, but they got great money for him, didn't they?
I said in the other podcast this week, I do not understand somebody that young going to Saudi League at this stage, right? And somebody's corrected me this week, and it could have been me talking to somebody over a dog walk or whatever, and they said, well, why not go out there? He'll make massive money, goes out there for 3 seasons, he'll still come back as a 24-year-old, have played maybe more football, and then hits the Premier League again. And you sort of think, yeah, I sort of see that, but if you've got a chance to play in the Premier League,
but he wasn't. That's the problem. It was a bit like Harvey Elliott. Really, he's just getting little bit roles, and he's gone from 50,000 taxable to 300,000 non-taxable. And a chap at rugby said to me, "All you need to do is stay in Saudi Arabia for 2 years." And I think that's not, and you can then bring it back without it being taxed. So, like you say, he could play 2 years there, set him up for life and more. Play alongside, with or against Ronaldo and a few other, and enjoy his football, get more football, 90 minutes of football every game, and then come back and still be young to play in the Premiership.
And I think this, I've said this in different podcasts. I think this is a trend, and I think it's a factor now in the game. But it's a bit sad that he would rather go and play his football in that league at that level, and whether it's the amount of football he'll get to play because he'll play every week, or it's about the money. Personally, I think it's about the money. It's banking it early, because I come back to this thing I've said nearly every week now. I honestly believe footballers are more about their own personal careers and the amount of money they make than the clubs they play for and the trophies they win. And it's about the longevity of career and about the maximum amount of revenue that they can gain over that period. So whether he goes to Timbuktu and plays for 300,000 a week and a Timbuktu league, it doesn't matter.
Right. But that's been a developing problem of football since it became very Americanized, and everything from the Bosman rule changes to the fact that the payment and the power for the players has become so colossal. There'll always be those that win things, the Galactico proper winners who still get paid good money, the previous Man United best, City's best, your Van Dijks and all of those things. They're earning good money. But if you're Duran, who's in and out of a Villa team, and you're going to walk away with technically 30 million tax-free in 2 years,
you take it early.
You don't know his personal circumstances and stuff like that, where he's come from. I've got no idea of Duran's background, but you're not. No family's got that amount of money, don't get me wrong, but they could fix so much of him and his family's life. It is a sacrifice, and I don't think actually there is any enjoyment in playing football over there. Let's be blunt. Have you seen the crowds, the pitches, the tempo of the game? It is poor. And for me, it's where players would have gone to America back in the the 70s, like Pele, and
exactly
finishing the careers off. To do it at 20 whatever, it just shows you that the money talks, doesn't it? It's a shame because he's actually a decent player, and he could have gone somewhere and still had a great Premiership career, and he might come back, but
he might still come back and be great, but who knows? Just looking elsewhere last weekend, obviously Liverpool, the slot machine, continued on a roll, winning 2-0 at Bournemouth. I haven't seen this, but Salah, 2 goals, a 30-minute pen and 75-minute winner. It just keeps on rolling on for Liverpool and slot at the moment.
Yeah, and last night as well, I watched the game last night on TV, but I mean, I know Tottenham weren't that great, but Liverpool looked really good, a really good team performance. They were quite patient, and again, what I like about Slot is he brings on the substitutes. Obviously, we were 3 goals up, but he gives everybody a bit of a run out. Apart from Chase, who didn't come on, but a lot of the other people got a bit of 20 minutes, 25 minutes. The players don't sulk when they come off. Nunes is quite happy, came off. He worked really hard, by the way, Nunes. Gakpo had a really good game. Kelleher had hardly. Well, he didn't have a shot. They didn't have a shot on target.
No.
So all Gallagher did was, concentrate on his distribution, which was excellent. Yeah, and I think you mentioned before, Rodney, Connor Bradley had a really good game. Obviously, you're talking about we have a natural replacement if Trent goes. At one point, my son was getting a bit frustrated about, I think it was at 0-0 that we didn't seem to have that pass that Trent produces, but with a bit of patience, the goals came and they found a way. So, yeah, very, very pleased with the overall team performance last night. I think it was interesting listening to the people afterwards, the commentators on the TV saying, even with a 1-0 aggregate, most people saw Liverpool as the clear favourites for that game. And they said, when you don't have a shot on target, what's that saying about Tottenham and how we've all felt about Tottenham for a long, long time? They're very much the nearly men, nearly got to the final, nearly won a final, nearly this. It must be so frustrating for a Tottenham fan.
It was a dominant display by you last night in the League Cup, and let's not forget this is a semi-final, and so you're through to the final. But nearly 65% possession last night to Liverpool. 26 shots against 5 from Tottenham. It was a absolutely dominant display. Now, as much as I thought Liverpool were good, and I have to say, it really killed me last night. I was liking watching Liverpool play, and I like your manager. There's something wrong here that Manchester United fan can be so. But I do. I like the way you play. You remind me of how United used to play under Fergie.
That's right.
You drive forward basically. You don't try to take too many touches. It's all about going forward, getting in the box. But somebody caught my eye last night, and was Connor Bradley, and I thought.
Actually, that pass of his, you're saying, was just the ball came to him and he passed it first time, and it was a lovely pass which led to, I think, Gakpo's goal. But yeah.
So, and Sabi, I can never pronounce his name. The midfielder, Sabi
Szollskat.
That's him. Well pronounced.
Again, another player that's come on really well.
But the last goal was lovely. Connor cut inside, didn't he, and came as an inside into the middle and then laid it off for him for the Look, Liverpool were excellent, and they've got through some great results recently. Bournemouth away, who just won 5 against Forest, was it, and they battered Newcastle at Newcastle, and then Liverpool. We think, oh, okay, this could be interesting. No, they get the job done. When you're winning, the harmony in the camp is easier.
Yeah, right? Totally.
And it's so much easier, and so. The rotation of players smiling, coming off, smiling, coming on is loads easier when it's like that. Honestly, you're gonna win more than the league. I don't know how much you're gonna win. It is a very well-oiled, minimal injuries, on form, playing with freedom, but still incredibly tight at the back with Konate and Van Dijk. I mean, it is right now capable of winning a lot this season.
Yeah, I thought Konate played well. He's obviously getting fit now after his injury. But one thing they were pointing out was Van Dijk's leadership after the game, how he speaks, how he acts on the field, how he takes every game as it comes. But you can see that they look up to him, and how important he is to if they should keep him, because he really is. They talk about a spine of the team. Well, he's that main bone of the spine, isn't he?
There's so many things good things about Liverpool at the moment, and your goals are coming from lots of different players as well.
Yes, a bit like United were again under Fergie, spreading the goals out. Yes,
but what Bradley caught my eye the other night, and what I liked about him was there was a fierceness, there was a physicalness as well as composure and skill, and that balance is really important. That balance is what you need in football, especially British football, English football. But really, it's a very well balanced squad you've got at the moment. And Salah's was a pen. It was the top left corner.
He
Wasn't it?
absolutely
Wow.
smacked that one in.
He really smacked it. He really smacked it. So, anyway, that was a League Cup on Thursday night, and tonight, I am going to go to the Theatre of Dreams. I'm going to call it the Theatre of Nightmares at the moment, because we play Leicester now. This is the fourth round of the FA Cup, 8 o'clock tonight, live on whatever, and of course that means that Ruud comes home. With Leicester City. Now this has got the potential to be a bit of a banana skin for us. I'll be honest, and I'll probably beat Moors. I'd be disappointed if we threw this away. But they'll give us a really good game tonight.
Yeah. Well, I think you should win. It depends which team Leicester put out as well, doesn't it? Because it's always a strange thing with the cup. They're hanging on for survival, even though I don't personally think. When you're in Champions League, I don't really understand this having to rest players. I really don't. I never have. Leicester will play 38 league games. They're not in European football. Why can't they put the full team out against? I hope they do, but why can't?
I think they will. I think they will. I think the Ruud connection, the fact that he also wants, he's been under pressure as well. Let's face it. So a win at United would be amazing for him to ease pressure on his managerial position. Be a huge.
My theory on Ruud this week, and this is just something I thought of as I was walking the dog, was that it's very possible that Leicester are taking a long-term view with him, and that they might even accept going down again to the Championship for one season to bounce back up again. And you get some of the usual payments and that type of thing, and therefore they're taking a long-term view with Ruud van Nistelrooy. And I mean, they're not out of it at the moment because Wolves are only 2 points above, but ultimately it's either between Ipswich Town, Leicester and Wolves as to who stays up, basically. I think Everton now is getting too big. So and it wouldn't surprise me, and it would be quite modern, if you like, and quite holistic for an executive team of a football team to take a long-term view. But I'd like to think Leicester might just do that with him, because
they'll see. I mean, I haven't watched Leicester enough recently, but the fans will make a judgment, won't they, on the type of football, if they're enjoying Van Nistelrooy's vision. The players, if they like Van Nistelrooy, and the heads at the top, if there's that kind of solidarity, yes, but if the change room are not happy with his style of football or training, then things can quickly move, can't they? Big name or no big name.
Yeah, true. Right. I mean, you're absolutely right. The fans will have a say. So it's a huge game tonight. It's a huge game for both teams. I think it really comes down to our starting lineup and how we play. We'll play 3-5-2, you know that, or we'll play something like that, because that is Ruben's way and he's sticking to that. And I understand that and getting used to watching it. And in some ways, I like the fact that he's sticking with it, because that's what he's been brought in to do. And we'll see how we go. Other games tomorrow in the FA Cup fourth round. It is a tasty game at lunchtime. Leeds United versus Millwall. That's like an old 70s banger, isn't it? Dom, are you going down to Leyton Orient tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's an early kickoff though, isn't it?
It is 12:15. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a nice little ground though. So actually, those. Again, I think because we've been taken off our perch, I'm just enjoying. Got to be honest, I'm just enjoying football for football more at the moment, rather than it all being about titles and stuff. I've not admitted defeat on all fronts. I still think we could win the Champions League. God knows why. And I'm fun. And I've got my tickets to Real Madrid at home.
Oh yeah, we must mention that I'm
not going to Madrid away.
But, you wanted Bayern, but you did get the dreaded.
Yeah, we got
Real Madrid.
Real. Anyway, it's a glamour tie. And anyway, we'll see what that goes. But Leyton Orient, nice little ground, should win. but it's a nice day out.
It's a League One side. You're at the Gochen Group Stadium, I believe is pronounced. That
I
will.
think Leighton Orient is the one that is it Barry Hearn has got a connection to.
Yeah, that's right.
Barry Hearn, the snooker and boxer.
Can I give you a little? I'm going to give you a little wild card. If I was going through those fixtures for tomorrow,
go on,
and looking at a possible shock, because there's not many anymore, is there?
No.
The draws don't give us a lot of glamour ties tomorrow, to be honest. I think that you're right about the Leeds Millwall one being a proper royale, probably on the streets more than the stadium. I'm going to call Birmingham Newcastle.
Saw that.
Right. Birmingham obviously have spent a lot of money. They're on the way with Brady's bunch, should we call them, with the investment. They're doing very well in the league. Newcastle will be on a massive high from the midweek. Sometimes there's a fall off after that, take their eye off the ball. At Birmingham, big historic club, I reckon that could be a real humdinger. That's a 5:45 tomorrow. That could be one to keep your eye on, because I just think they'll have a real go at them. That's the one that I'm looking at to think, could there be a shock?
And Richard, closest team to you at the Bet365 Stadium, it's the tale of two cities, Stoke City versus Cardiff City tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd hope that Stoke could beat Cardiff. Really, I think some Stoke fans think, they're hoping that they'll come through that one at home.
It's the championship. It's the championship derby almost, isn't it? Really,
it is. Yeah, and I think having that home advantage might see us over the line with that one.
Yeah, somebody's got Villa Tottenham. That's the only proper Premiership glamour tie on Sunday. That's the only one. You'd fancy Villa for that, wouldn't you, at the moment?
And then do you think, if Villa win that, do you think they'll pull the plug on the manager, or they'll give him to the end of the season?
Because that's a really good question. I mean, he's not gone yet, has he?
No.
I still like Ange. I don't. I mean, I know he's getting a bit irritated and stuff, and he's struggling, but I do think he's got a lot of injuries. Right, you could argue he's a bit naive in bits, and he sticks by his principles. But I don't know.
I tell you what, I just think is, obviously, how notorious the Tottenham board is. I just wonder whether Ange is sexy enough for Tottenham, the new Tottenham. I mean that in that way, really, playing sexy football, being a sort of sexy, charismatic type guy in the footballing way, obviously I'm talking about. And I just wonder whether that partly, Tottenham now with a new stadium, and they've always seen themselves as being a top drawer football club, and in the way they play. And they've always played glamour football, and that's not happening at the moment for one reason or the other. So it would be interesting, wouldn't it, if they lose against Villa at 5:30 on Sunday, what would happen? But I guess part of me, I would love to see Ange just doing well, because I just think he's that sort of guy. He's the bloke next door football manager, isn't he? He's sort of like, you could have seen him coaching kids football on the Sunday, and suddenly he finds himself in the Premier League.
I must ask a quick question. I know it's 4 or 5 weeks away, but just a quick answer from both of you. At Wembley, Liverpool v Newcastle, who do you see as the winner on that day?
Shall I go first? I just hope it's a great game. Number one. Some finals always underperform, don't they? I'm gonna call, and this isn't me being anti-Liverpool, honestly, Rich. Well, it probably is, but I'm gonna call Newcastle. I just think that they've been, again, like a nearly club. You talk about Tottenham not achieving. I know it's different with Newcastle, but they've been in several FA Cup finals in the last, when Shearer was there, never quite got there. Not won anything forever, but they have been close probably 3 times at Wembley. Never won it.
Yeah, I looked it up on Google. They won the FA Cup back in the early 1940s or 1930 something? It was, gosh, a long time ago.
But they got to the final against Chelsea and stuff under Mourinho. They've been close, but never really delivered at a final. And I just think he's done such a good job. And on the day, with all them Geordies there, listen, Liverpool will have to win it. They will not be given it. That will be a proper game. And I just have a sneaky feeling that they just might get the rub of the green that they've never had before. Sometimes I just go off probability, me. And I just think that it might just be their time to get something in the locker. And nothing against Liverpool. I would love it for the Geordies because I'd love them to get a little bit of winning something. Because I know personally, when you win anything, and ours was the FA Cup in 11 against Stoke, it's just monumentally important to your fan base and families and generations of following a club. It's so powerful. So I just hope they get it. But I just I think it'll be a cracker because that's a great Newcastle team.
I think the key is I get the impression Newcastle can be an overly romantic, emotional club at times, and that can spill out onto the pitch and turn the heads of the players because there's a lot invested. It's a huge city for football, and it's the only it doesn't have two football clubs in the city, and I hope that. I hope they manage that side of it because then on the day, the football will do the talking. And I think this is not me being anti Liverpool in any way. I'm actually I'm being more pro Newcastle and pro an English football coach. Because somebody you would love to see doing really well in football, and he can only do that if he starts winning stuff, and then actually it would be good for football if the Geordies won something, So, so it's not me being.
I think they've got the team.
I'm being more pro.
I think they've got Isaac.
Yeah,
got Isaac. Any team with Isaac is dangerous on a one game. I think over two legs you can't do Liverpool in a one game. I just think with Isaac, and they've got a great midfield. The question is, just can they hold it together emotionally? You're dead right, Rod. But it'd be good for football just to share it around a bit. Because I actually think Liverpool are going to win the league, and I think you've got at least 2 trophies coming. We don't know what they'll be, but it could be more.
Yeah,
so I slow you down a little bit.
Indeed. I think you need to tie a 1-ton weight to the back of the Liverpool team bus at the moment to slow them down, Dom.
I think Liverpool's the best team in Europe. Best team in Europe, and Van Dijk is the best player in the world, right? And that's me as a City fan saying that.
Ooh, but it's just away from the British football, English football, and the weekend results. But Brazil and former Real Madrid defender Marcelo has decided to hang up his boots after 16 seasons, the age of 36. One of the world's best left backs. Would we agree, guys?
Well, he's certainly been in a great team for a long time, hasn't he? So I don't know. Don probably knows a bit more about Marcelo than I do. I obviously just recognise him from when we got beaten by Madrid in those 2 European Cup finals, and but he was part of lots of great players in that team, wasn't he? So I can't actually answer the question: is he a brilliant left back? Because I didn't watch him that closely, but I know he's obviously, to play at Real Madrid all that time, you've got to be a good footballer, haven't you?
I think Rich calls it right. Actually. It's difficult to isolate. Was he a great player? Because when you've got a fullback in a great team, they're part of a fantastic, well-oiled machine. But clearly he was, because his trophy cabinet says so. But yeah, he's certainly right up there in the top 10, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, 16 seasons he played, 58 times for Brazil. He won 25 titles in total, majority of them with Real Madrid, I would think. 5 Champions League titles, again, with Real Madrid. So that's not a bad career. And just also sticking away from football on the pitch, but this week was I forget what was it, it was our memorial for Munich. I'm just trying to do the maths, and I can't do the maths in my head. I think it's 67 years or something like that. But I mean, your clubs, and I know certainly Liverpool. There's a lot of times when you do memorials, you reflect back on past times. We think about Hillsborough, etc. Richard, I mean, you guys, how important do you think it is that football clubs do the right thing on those occasions and balance the sort of the memorial, the remembering, as well as the going forward? Any views on that?
Well, I think both of those tragedies that you mentioned were so huge that they should never be forgotten, obviously, and I think they'll always be remembered in that way. I mean, for virtually a whole team to be wiped out in that. I mean, we've seen obviously the air crash that happened in Washington recently with the helicopter. It's just so devastating because, most of the time there's no survivors, and such a big team at the time, and such two different types of disasters really. One affecting the team, and the Hillsborough one obviously affecting, in a physical sense, the fans and that on that horrific day. So yeah, I mean, I think it's also when I see lots of football matches now, they do claps and remember even fans now that have passed away, and I think it connects the fans with the football clubs and keeps that going quite rightly, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think in a time when you get so many, rich people coming into clubs and maybe potentially changing some of the philosophy of the club, whatever, having that history and remembering that history and it helps I don't know, connect the club back to its roots, really. And I think for United, Munich, as big a tragedy as it was, and you only have to think about what could have happened with that team had they not had that accident. But it's also something that anchors the club back to a certain way of being and a certain quality and a certain way of remembering that I think it's really, really important for us, So, and I know.
Well, I think it is important that they do annually commemorate, if that's the right word, these things, because I heard a discussion on the news the other evening about young children now, massive percentages in Europe and in Britain, not even knowing what the Holocaust was, for example. So if you don't keep that education and remembrance up, people will soon forget, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then just one other thing from this week was Cristiano Ronaldo turned 40. Can you believe? I know, incredible, isn't it? And still
looking in great shape.
Oh, looking in great shape. Wow. If I was in that shape when I was 30, I'd be happy. And if I was half the man at 55, I'll be really good. But just quite phenomenal, really, when you think that he's still playing, albeit it's in that league, still playing professional football at 40. That's not something. If anybody was going to be able to do it, you would have put him in there, wouldn't you? Really, because he's just a machine, really. But there you go.
The physicality of the lads as well now.
Yeah,
is amazing, isn't it? I mean, look at Salah. Salah looks like he could go for another 10 years yet. There's others. The way that people look after themselves, particularly Ronaldo, but generally, he used to be all over your career at 30, didn't it? You can really play high into your 30s comfortably at a very good level.
Well, Sheringham, I remember Teddy Sheringham played late into his 30s, and I always thought he was an excellent player.
Teddy never broke sweat, really. He just danced around a pitch, really. It was all about positional play with Teddy. He was a wonderful signing for us towards the end of the 90s. So it was really wonderful signing.
I think Ronaldo's been lucky with injuries as well as Messi seems to have had a bit more of an injury list in his diary. But Ronaldo's always been quite fortunate, I think, with I don't think he's ever suffered a serious injury, has he? As in a knee injury? You may want to correct me, but I don't think so. I mean, sometimes that's just a bit some good fortune, isn't it? I mean, your defender, I noticed, Rodney. Is it Martinez?
Yes. Oh,
he's got an ACL, hasn't he?
That's.
I mean, is there more footballers these days getting these knee injuries? Is it down to the boots? Is it down to the slick pitches?
It wasn't contact, by the way.
No,
it was the most innocuous looking thing, and then he went down, and he went down at our end, and our heart sank because you could tell he was in pain, but he was massively frustrated, and there was just anguish. We can't afford to lose somebody like him at the moment.
That's quite a big player to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, big player. And a big player when you're trying to play a back three. Yeah, big player, big.
That certainly won't help you against Leicester either, losing a big player like that. So Vardy will be smelling blood.
I actually believe that of all the places we've got some cover at the moment, we probably have a bit more cover in defensive areas to a degree.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, our biggest issue is we need strikers. We need more striking options, and we need to bring in. I think we need to bring in an experienced striker in the summer, somebody who's a bit more seasoned, and somebody who's a whippet, early 20s, and just no fear, just knock the ball in, because we can't just rely on Xerxes and Hoyland. Just can't do it.
No, not at all.
All right. For next week, Tom, I want to talk about this normalizing goalkeepers. This is intrigued me. So we'll talk about that, and I'm sure other subjects will come up.
Not just normalizing them, normalizing substitutions. I think it's a very good, interesting topic to talk about. Is that for the future, Rodney? Did you say?
I think we'll do it next week. I'm going to research it like it's a PhD and come back full of Wikipedia knowledge and find out that I know nothing about it, as I typically know nothing about football. But that's it for the Theatres of Dreams Extra Time, and we'll look forward to the matches this weekend. You've been listening to Richard Irvine, Don Barnes, and Rod Maxwell, Theatre of Dreams podcast. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.